right, here we go again. Buckle up. Definitely some weird stuff out there in IT land here. How to kind of actually download another browser to get it to work. Could be a hack. Could be redesign of the app so it doesn't work intentionally. Be a lot of things. Right. So here's the thing with Tucker Carlson. Now, I don't have any evidence that Tucker Carlson's part of it. Okay. That's the first part. Right. The second part is that Tucker Carlson may have been manipulated into actually enforcing the deep state rule over technology, which means this: without Tucker Carlson out there interviewing, I don't know who that is. Like maybe it's Altman, I guess one of the guys. I don't know if it's Altman. I don't even know who it is. I really don't care. I don't have time for techie nonsense. They owe me billions anyway, right? So the idea is he's on this media thing, so he doesn't understand that the person that they stole, like I don't care, but the person they stole data from is now afraid because of what he just aired. So he's part of the enforcement mechanism by default, not by necessarily wanting to be. Because now there's more information. Oh, it's these guys, and now this guy ended up dead. And for me, when I see that, I just investigate it further. So they're idiots when they bring it around me. Right? Well, what is it? How does it move? Right. So actually, Tucker may have unintentionally aided and abetted their techie rule that if we steal stuff from you, you don't say anything or we kill you or something like that. Now, what their operators will tell you, the operators that are operating that, no matter who's responsible, right? Because the person may not be responsible. Again, they're making this illusion. Remember the Clintons? Oh, they killed. He didn't kill Vince Foster. It's the people I'm speaking about still that killed Vince Foster. The Clintons were along for the ride. Right. All the world's a stage. So, they're along for the ride in something right now. Again, who knows what it is? I mean, they're not going to jail. Might have some home detention. And then Bannon will pound the table or the desk and yell. The Clintons got away with murder. But if you notice, they're getting richer. All the rich people get richer, and we get poorer, right? Which is my next topic. Now, Tucker Carlson, it's not me, but I can receive vibration. So what's going on is people are now more afraid because Tucker Carlson aired that. You didn't like solve anything. Right. So this 10% cap, I'm not in the banking industry, and I'm not receiving enough to understand everything that it is. Right. Well, there's something around Demon, whatever his name is. I can't, it insults me, but it's not him. So they got something around. That's maybe why he got sued too. I don't know. You may have dissed Trump in the head. I don't think it's him. I think it's a phony thing. But the idea is this. No, because I can't. It's some reason the banking industries, and it could be the Democrats and foreign powers projecting so that we can't fix our banking industry and our bankruptcies and all of that. But the idea is the 10% may work, may not work. But my experience is that banks are willing to work with people. And when you get to the level of somebody that's, and again, it's not all of them. Again, it doesn't fit everybody's situation, but most people that are stuck were like, F it. Right. They just spent until they said, that's it. Right. They even, some of those people, you have to understand, they weren't paying their rent. So they got a credit card, didn't pay that either. They just ran up a tab. Right. And he never took care of it. Now, to a certain degree, somebody's cursing that, and it could be the banks. They may have screwed themselves by cursing poor people, right? Or somebody they hated. Satan always put in your mind that there's somebody that you have to hate. Now the devils are going, well, what about us? What about us? Well, I tell you the truth. When I started healing people, I thought about the devils, but you all the devils that are left that wouldn't repent. And again, repenting doesn't mean that you worship Jesus or anything like that. It just means stop doing what you're doing, as described in Ezekiel 34 and the other scriptures that I mentioned. Luke 10, Ezekiel 34, Luke 10 for real. Like, you can diss a church person because most of them aren't real, and Jesus' stuff doesn't kick in. Right. Well, it's the strangest country in the world right now because the foreign spies, along with the corrupt spies, which are also law enforcement that have been trained as spies, made you believe that effing off your neighbor was the way to go. And that destroyed all the economy. That destroys the economy and everything every so often. We've never been out of, the point is this is still, I guess Biden could say it's partially Trump's fault from COVID, and it's partially Biden's fault for after COVID. All Biden did was hide what was there. Like, I wouldn't say this, it's like everybody else. He just got credit cards for the United States and just kept spending. Right. You can spend your way out of it, but you have to establish, again, I don't know if we're going to do it. So again, the litmus test isn't necessarily whether it works at this point, how far it goes and how successful we are. But you have to do what Basant's doing. Right. Well, because he's trying to work the economy. They weren't working the economy. They were just spending. Instead, so while you're spending, we lost that window. And I explained that window. Right. And I explained Venezuela too in 2021. I started. Or even 2020, late 2020. Wait, no, it would be 2021. 2021. Right. So we had a window where we could spend, but if you did what Basant's doing now, while we were spending, we would have, boom, it would have been just like a shift of the transmission. The most expensive transmission you have in the world. Into overdrive. Or, it's like I was using hit the afterburners. So you hit the afterburners, you take off, almost vertical. And at a certain point, start off the afterburners. You're up in that peaceful silence of the sky. But they didn't do it. Told them to do Venezuela, do whatever you need to get Venezuela oil production up. Didn't do it. Because you wouldn't be looking for natural gas right now. I don't know if Maduro wouldn't work with you or what. But, right. Or if somebody in government just said, F Maduro, he killed 5 of my buddies or something like that. Because that's happening behind the scenes. They're playing out their fantasies. Right? The spies. So I'm out of power on this particular audio mechanism. Give me a second. Maybe I can pull it off. For some reason, again, they're cursing me, so it's expected that these type of things happen. And let me have a couple of these things may be history. Pull this out. See what this looks like. I'm having trouble with them pairing. So I'm going to look here, see if I get something to pair. If I can just get into pairing mode. It's turning off instead of pairing. I have to look if there's a deeper switch where it doesn't let it repair. Oh, I got it into pairing mode. Turn this off. Turn this back on. It's so I could do a hot swap here, I guess. Hopefully. I don't know if I'll be able to or not. All right, so, ooh, that's, now which one's low? I think it's the other way. I don't know. Right, but I could. So let me see if I plug this in. Nah, they were left out overnight. Yeah. Oh, no, it's the other one. Yeah, my transmitters are low on power. I know I have one more somewhere, but I'll eventually find it. It's probably dead. That's why I can't find it. Right, but I got figured out how to pair these things. That's a plus. All right, so there's no way to do this, and I'm going to have to do this. So let me figure this out. I have to stick a battery into this. Let me go get the battery. So we'll go into that 10% thing. I don't know why. Again, James Cameron, I guess his name is. I don't know if he's Republican, Democrat, or otherwise, and whether he's honest. I can't tell you whether he's honest or he's just, pontificating or whatever to hear himself speak. But he said he's had to leave the United States because everybody's at each other's throats. I've been telling you that for years. And that's when I told you the Soviets were doing something in 2007. That's what they were doing. Radicalizing, causing everybody to fight each other. And I said, you have to do something or we're going to be in trouble in the future. And here we are. I have to find this battery. May actually be in my vehicle or it's in this. Now the battery I have here is 100%, but it's huge. It's too big to carry around. Oh, I could, right? Because I'll just do this. I'll plug it in with this. This will work. That should work. Yeah, it's charging. I just kind of have a lot of stuff to juggle. All right, so we're back online here. I have the power there. So everybody should meet. The banking industry needs to meet with Trump, and Trump needs to meet with the banking industry again. But like the meetings you used to have. I don't know if it goes back to the first administration or not. I can't remember when they were. I mean, if I actually accessed my memory, I could figure it out. But I'm not wanting to spend that much energy. So what we need to do is have those meetings. Put this on here, it'd be easier. I got some Velcro here on this stuff, so hopefully, actually, okay, there's the Velcro. Yeah, good. All right, we good. So again, federally backed loans. I don't know how you want to do that. The last time under Obama, they were paid back at a certain point. I don't think they were required to pay it back, but the banks paid it back. I can't remember what the whole thing was there. I could if I researched it, but I don't want to spend that much energy. So, but what if again, my idea was each citizen receives the loan. But again, it wouldn't be every citizen. You have to understand, let's go to a normal economy. What we believe is a normal economy. We still have a certain number of bankruptcies. That's our target number. Yeah, we'd love to wipe bankruptcies from the face of the earth, but the sovereign fund isn't big enough yet, so we're not going to be able to get there anytime soon. I mean, who knows? I mean, if I see crypto's scary. So again, as far as sovereign fund, but what if we invested in crypto in the sovereign fund? Would that pull us out? I mean, you all manipulate stuff, and I know that. So if we invested in the sovereign fund and you in crypto and you manipulated crypto, could we get exceedingly rich as a nation? Quite possibly. And then we can wipe bankruptcies away because we'll just write them off. See, that's the goal. And I told you that we needed to use private sector stuff in government to make it work. Otherwise, it won't work. You can call it communism, but again, do you see how that works? Oh, no, we can't do that because it's communism. It's like the biggest capitalistic move in the history of the world. It makes everybody rich, right? So this is going to take time. My lifetime work is actually completed with that and all that. It's just, Democrats, hopefully don't destroy it. Well, because you'll be able to pay for every socialist program with the crypto, with government purchased crypto and stocks and bonds and whatever else you get into, properties, buy into businesses. The idea is just to keep it honest and not make it like communism. Again, it's not even real communism, but like communism was. It was just cronyism. Right? So as long as you spread the wealth in the sovereign fund, that's fine, and that's the goal. So again, that was one of the projects in my life, is how to fund all these things, all these social programs. So we're there now. We just got to get there. You got to invest and all. And that's what I told you. That's what I told Obama's people from online social media. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I imagine you saw something, or somebody in your administration saw it. Right. That you have to use private sector business models to build universal health care and such programs. It's just, you have to invest in it, and it takes time. Instead of just going, here's a credit card, the tax-funded credit card. So if you wonder what Basant's doing, I think that's what he's doing. He's just working all the private sector business models into government so we can make it work. Again, it's new day and age. There's no reason why government doesn't modify with that. Again, if you call it communism, it's not going to work. One side will fight the other, and both sides will fight themselves, and it'll be over. And everybody will be poor, and we'll have a war somewhere, and then we'll forget about it for another 10 years. So you have to sit down with the banking industry. You have to discuss what it is. Like, how much over standard bankruptcies do we believe we're going to go? Again, this is still a mess from COVID. It's just, Biden pulled the credit card out and said, look, we ain't got no mess. I got a credit card. Because that's what they did. Right. Well, the target is not zero bankruptcies, although the sovereign fund target is zero bankruptcies. The initial target is to bring the bankruptcies into what we consider a normal rate of bankruptcies, which may not be as far as we believe. Right. So a number of those people you have to let go. So going this 10% cap, it's kind of crazy. I don't know. I mean, go to the bank. Bank may say, if you give me a 15% cap, I can do it real easy. I don't know. You have to have a meeting. Right. Well, the idea is to figure out who you need, how many people you need to save, or what percentage, or however you're going to figure it. Then you approach that number, which is a smaller number than all the bankruptcies. Right. Well, because some of these people earn bankruptcy. I mean, I hate to say that, but I mean, people spend and they didn't earn bankruptcies. So I'm not saying it's just people that spent, right? But there are people that knew that that was their goal. We're just going to spend and then we're going to bankrupt. There are people like that. That's why those fees go so high. So Well, okay. So the idea is there's something saying who's responsible. We got to get away from who's responsible, because united we stand, united we die. You know, right. It's we got to fix it. We got to find a way to fix it. Again, if I want to spite you for spending too much money, then I can't fix the economy. But there is a certain percentage in there that it's just gonna bankrupt. So again, I'll have to look. I may have spent some time today looking at the bankruptcy rates, what we consider a normal bankruptcy rate, where we are, where the projected bankruptcy rate is, that kind of thing. Well, you may want to like a federally backed loan program. So you have to talk to the banks and say, okay, if we back it, how many of these people can we save? Do you think could we save with a loan? And then the other option is, or not the other option, the other thing that's going to happen is you'll save some of those people that will bankruptcy later. So you're going to spread the bankruptcies out. Now, you think you're going to do that with the 10%, possibly, but it could have reverberations on credit. Well, then you'll crash. Then you could recess. You can cause a recession. Now, it's difficult for some of you to understand because you've always had money, or money is as far back as you remember, and you were lucky in life, but you believe that you worked for it or something like that. Excellent. No, the whole system is a fraud, and it spends its whole day promoting the fraud, so it kills itself sometimes. Right? And that's what's happened. It's killing itself. It's promoting fraud, who's important, who's not important, who's special, who's not special, who deserves to be punished, who doesn't deserve to be praised. But they will call evil good, they will call good evil. It's in everything. Right? Well, you have to figure out what's your target bankruptcy rate. Then you got to figure, I guess, how many people that is, and look at, you know, you have to stay with the banks, because the banks have to look at what they're looking at in debt. And then, well, then you figure out how many of these people do we have to try to save, or at least stay from bankruptcy for bankruptcy for 3 years. And it's not like a scam. It's just for 2 or 3 years or something, because you're trying to save the economy so other people don't have an issue. If we recess, then there's going to be a larger issue. There's going to be a certain level of recession per se, but not necessarily a recession. If you trim the population of the United States, especially narcotics distribution, you're going to have some level of recession. But the answer isn't to keep going. It's just like the credit card. It doesn't work, right? Because we have people on trank. We have people, that aren't productive. We have people that become criminals. We have people that become unhoused and mentally ill. We have a lot of work to do to fix all that. And you're not going to get there by just allowing narco economy and sex trafficking. That's allowed to take over the United States, actually, part of it, because our best people are being killed. They're looking for our best people to kill. They look for me to kill. Right? And it's not just, U.S. born deep state. They work for, like I told you from the beginning, they work for foreign powers. They were set up by foreign powers to do that. So again, the only answer is to meet with the banks and find the alternative. I mean, your 10% cap may be, a workup to get them to work with you. I don't know. This is the alternative if you don't work with us. But you have to be careful, because they know that scam, kind of a scam. I guess it's a pressure technique, but the Europeans tried to, that's when you backed off, because they know the scam, when you played it. Or again, I don't know if it's a scam with a pressure technique. The problem is the Democrats are part of foreign powers at this point. Although, Trump may have been part of it when he was trying to get in office, and he pays people to operate, and who knows what they were doing. Now, Democrats are not free of foreign influence because they accuse Donald Trump of being foreign influence. It's a scam, right? The projection scam. And again, yeah, it was proven that there's foreign. You have to have a meeting with the banking industry, but you have some lead up. People talk to their people, blah, 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 right? So you have to have a public meeting with the banking industry, and 10%. It's just it's just like an uneducated guess. That's what I think it is. Like you're hoping that it does something. Now, if your desire is to reduce the available credit, it could do that. But again, if you reduce the available credit too far, then you have a recession because of the way they built the economy over the years. So at 10%, we don't know what the end result of a 10% cap could be a recession if they shut down credit that far. That's probably the worst case scenario, but we'll go down in history with like Jimmy Carter or something. As far as economics. Was it Jimmy Carter? Was it Ford? I can't remember both. And again, it was a tough period. And I doubt I wasn't awake. I could have rescued the president back then. Right. Probably wasn't hearing from me. Nixon heard from me. I know Ford came in from outside. Right. Well, you might be able to do essentially Obama was backing federally backed loans to the corporate sector, I think, and the banks or something like that. I said you should have did it to everyday people, giving them the opportunity. In the end, it turned out okay because I think most of it, if not all, was paid back. I guess some people did fail. And I guess opening up to everyday people, but again, they said they had businesses. So again, this is a different era too. I mean, I don't know how much fraud was back then. I don't know if there was any small amount, but the PPP fund frauds and the daycare fraud, I mean, that's horrible. Well, that's what you need to do is something like Obama did. I was part of that thing. From social media, I told them you got to provide loans, and they decided to do the loans with the corporate sector versus the people. Federally backed loans. Well, I guess they let the people bankrupt, and I guess the loans also helped the banks and everyone else give better rates and things like that, so the people could rescue themselves. So I guess so again, that's why you have to meet with them. If we help you with the debt that you're going to see in bankruptcy and all that, what can you do to assure us that it's going to work? Well, again, the key, like I said, on some of these people is just shutting off their credit and providing them a low interest rate loan. So again, the banks will go so far, or there is some loan. So you got the SoFi guy, I've used that. You have the Prosper guy, gal, whatever they are, them, us. So they provide loans up to a certain calculated possible loss at a certain interest rate. If you help them, they may be able to go further into calculated loss and then also reduce the interest rate. Because that's where you're hoping to push them. Maybe, I don't know. That's where you want, but there's no guarantee that they'll get there unless you work some programs, probably. And so the idea is a certain percentage is going to bankruptcy, and that's part of the normal. We don't want it, but it's part of normal economy. You could even go a little bit high on the bankruptcies, but not where they're going, I guess. I haven't looked at it. Yeah, SoFi is carrying a lot of debt, so they're doing kind of their part. And I guess Prosper to a certain degree. I don't think I've ever had a Prosper loan. I had some sort of upgrade loan or something years ago. Well, yeah, I make sure I get things paid off, and that's the key. Is you don't want bad credit because there's so many benefits of good credit. Like people like Trump doesn't realize how that works because he's in a different world. But maybe not in Basana, I don't know. But the 0% world, 0% credit card world is amazing. That's really where most people survive. And so you may kill that, and then you could actually make it worse. Right. And then, and again, recession. A lot of people, like, used to be when it started, was you could get a payment program of 0% interest, 6 months, 12 months. But if you're careful with your credit, they said, here's a 0% credit card for 15 months, and you don't have to go to any special thing. You carry it on your debt. You have to be careful, but you can fashion your own payment plan because you have the credit that tells us that you're going to pay this off before that 0% ends, most likely. Or you might go 6 months, a year into it, but you'll pay it off. So we'll honor you with the 0%. So if you kill that, that's how people buy stuff that don't have money. Right. Even people with money, if you get a 0% credit card, sometimes they'll just do that so they can invest their money and they don't have to pay off their item. Right. So while they're paying off that 0% debt, their money's actually making money. Maybe crypto, maybe stocks, bonds, whatever it is. Where if it, because you got a 0% interest rate, it doesn't matter. So there's a lot of things going on out there that you may not know that a 10% cap could kill. So not only would it reduce purchasing power, it would also possibly reduce investing power. Because now, instead of investing that money now and probably maybe even making my purchase price over the next year while I pay it off, or 6 months while I pay it off, I don't have that option anymore. There was a guy who got in trouble. I know his name, I just won't say. In the VOP, he got a loan from like the SEC, or not a loan. He got a letter from the SEC or something. He wasn't a big money guy. He's just a correctional officer. But what he did was, I don't know if it's illegal anymore, but apparently he was borrowing money on credit cards or something, and I guess he had a 0% rate or something like that, and he was directly investing it or something like that. They said, no, you can't do that. Maybe you can do it. I don't know. But whatever it was, he was able to outpace what it cost him for the money, to borrow the money. And he got a letter from the SEC or something like that. Said you can't do that. So that was like 25, no, actually like 30 years ago or something. He got a letter for doing something. He was borrowing money somewhere and investing it. He didn't hide it good enough. That's the problem. Well, what he should have done was actually just, what if he had, I don't know kind of what deal he had. I can't remember what he was doing. But if you have a 0% card and you buy all your food and everything on the credit card, they can't say that you're doing that. And then you have your income to invest. That would be the way to do it. Or maybe he was even just using his credit card to invest. Like, no, he was getting cash. He's getting cash. I can't remember what it was for sure. But the idea is that there's a lot more going on with people with good credit that could fall apart, good to excellent credit that could fall apart when you do that. And that could cause a recession. Well, I think the only answer, and again, you want to get away from it the best you can, but it's to back it with the federal. Like, you're not going to be able to work the debt like you hoped you could. Right. But I don't know how the debt works when you have income from tariff and you're saying the tariff is working. I'm not sure how all that's playing out. No, we have to get the immigrant population down or it doesn't work. I mean, it works for a Biden spend your credit card. We don't care. It doesn't matter. Because eventually you're going to get to Argentina. We're not there yet because we're much bigger and all, but you'll get to that economy in Argentina. It looked like it was well on its way. And then having that many people addicted, again, they don't have that drug problem. And you have to look to see if they're offering free drugs. Because you might be able to track a spycraft movement where it's just handing drugs out to people, even though it's just American schmucks, into drug dealing and stuff like that. There might be a spy entity moving and just give drugs away free. Could be the European Union. Their people were involved in my assassination. They know that. That's the scam. Our spies do it. Their spies did it, right? But of course, our spies directed it. Or our spies were paid not to stop it. Right. Not to worry. Figure out what I'm going to eat here in a bit. Is this work? I guess we're just waiting for the deluge of weather. But again, if you can work some things behind the scenes and then have an official meeting with all the programs that you're going to bring out. I mean, you could, again, there's nothing wrong with being honest with the American public. Say, we were hoping to beat the budget crunch, and we are working that, but we have too much to fix from the government credit card years. to actually, get as far as we wanted in 4 years. And again, you still have a few more years. Well, you have to focus on saving the economy. I don't think a 10% is going to do it. I think it could cause recession. I mean, it could. I don't know what you're going to do along with it and how it all works in the end, but again, it's a crapshoot. Right. You will reduce available credit, which essentially push these people to either bankruptcy or loan. There's a lot of people who aren't going to. It doesn't make a difference. You do the 10%. And it actually, it may cause people to care less about it, which may mean even, it's still a bank. So you should run free credit counseling. I think we have that somewhere, and the banks are a lot of times are doing that now, right? So what you need to do is push credit counseling. Well, okay, so maybe public awareness. Again, a lot of people don't care, man. I mean, they didn't pay their rent all those years. Now they didn't. Now they're not paying their credit cards. Again, it's still COVID. Biden, screwed you forward. He didn't pay it forward. He screwed you forward. Well, they never built the economy back up. They did the stuff to buy time. That's what that was. Right. The all those programs were to buy time. All that spending of money was to buy time until he rebuilt the economy, but they never rebuilt the economy. Again, you find out a ton of it went to just people that just crossed the border and said, "Give me money." Right. So the economy under Biden wasn't even doing as well as. That's why he was thrown out. I couldn't figure it out until you showed that I knew the immigrants were getting money, but the largeness. So again, the economy looked good because all these piece of shit immigrants were coming over here and stealing government funding, and I'm sure there's people out there that were 3 people getting 3 different checks. I mean, if they're going to do the bigger scam with the child care, there are people out there saying there were 3 different people, 4 different people, 10 different people, right? Well, that's part of the economy that looked good. Oh, wow, look at all this money. Right. And some of those rich getting richer are now in prison. So the rich weren't necessarily getting as rich as you thought. I mean, some like Elon and them. Well, Elon and those are also okay. So if you're a multimillionaire, so you have 500 million to $1 billion, you want to chase them, right? Especially if you're a young guy. This is how you manipulate people not to help other people, right? So they actually there's an official, whoever the spycraft entity is, or entities are. Again, some of them are foreign governments against the United States. It's F your neighbor program. Right. It teaches people to F their neighbor, and that's what's happening with ICE. They're teaching the neighbor now as ICE. Now you have to F ICE, and you get something. And again, when we say ICE, we also know it's Border Patrol, FBI, and others too. They're part of the work. So again, we have to get these people out of here so we can restructure the United States, so we understand what's going on with the American citizen, U.S. citizen. Because under the Obama, or not under the Obama company, under the Biden economy, the U.S. citizen was doing worse than what the economic data said, because you were counting all the fraudsters and all the foreign people that could come over and say, "Give me a check," because they were dumping that money into the economy and the narco money and all of it. So if you open up the floodgates of narcotics, you get people in the cities that look like zombies, but boy, you got a lot of money being spent, right? But the U.S. citizen was mostly out of that. I mean, there are U.S. citizen narcotics distributors, but the majority are foreigners, and the big money is the foreigners. So they don't look for a sale. They go down to Best Buy and they buy 10 TVs if they want, because it doesn't matter. Right. Again, you want a television and you're from Mexico, or you don't have to be from Mexico. You speak Spanish. You could have been here your whole life. Walk down to your local charity and say, I need this much money for our rent. I just come across the border. And you get the check. It doesn't matter. I don't have ID. They took it. Right. Now, Trump could run that, because he'd do an iris scan and fingerprints. And we know who you were. Right. And we know that you went to 10 different cities and got $10,000 in 10 different cities. So Biden created untraceable money. Or again, I don't think Biden was in on it as his people. Biden wasn't there enough to be in on it. Right. So the economic outlook under Biden was bullshit to begin with. Just dump more money in the immigrant world. They spend more money. Oh, well, the economy's up again. We're doing great. I don't know. To a certain degree, that's part of getting out of COVID, but they never rebuilt the economy. Basant's trying to rebuild the economy. Well, you can't let narcotics distribution and use expand because they become a waste. Right. Right. Now, and of course, yeah, we'll bring in another 10,000 foreigners and they'll deal the dope to the American. American gets, even Elon thinks they're stupid, but not stupid. These are criminal enterprises, including the techies. You locked out the American citizen. Tried to addict them to narco. They're using AI to do it. AI was here since probably 2010 at least. Right. Probably 2005. AI was probably here when NSA was running their own computer programs before the internet. A certain level of AI. Right. Just like, oh, I think we're going to start research 2003 Cheney. We're going to start researching direct energy because we're already using it. We'll just like grandfather read and say, oh, we just figured it out. Right. The blip I received in 2003, not even knowing Cheney said that because my life was so upside down from the deep state attacks, was that it was being used. I kind of just put it in the back of the mind and said, well, nothing I can do. Right. Said cell towers. No, it's a concerted effort to not only replace American citizens, U.S. citizens, is to destroy them so they could be replaced. It's like the Chinese social credit system. But the Chinese social credit system isn't honest, and the one they're running here, whoever's running it, isn't honest either. Right. The social credit system is a buzzword for their scam. They call you a pedophile, then you don't have any social credit, right? Right. Meanwhile, the pedophiles are where? Paying off the PIs that are running the scam, right? Who are spies, actually. And should be in prison for espionage. So again, the president needs to meet with people, the banking industry. But first, everybody else has to work out some sort of framework. Well, again, there's no way to do what Elon's saying, and all it's going to do is make Elon richer. And is that how Elon got his money? Because he convinced Trump not to bail out the everyday U.S. citizen? I don't know. You tell me. Tucker, can you find that out? I know they get richer when they're more evil. Nothing to do with more, except I'm explaining it to you. It's not capitalism, it's cronyism. And it's cronyism to the point of spy-driven espionage cronyism. So get together, make some meetings, put politics out of it, put this idea that you can rescue the budget in 1 year. You could if you do not, if you stop the space program. This is the reality of it. If you stop the space program and say that's it, right, you'd save enough money to get somewhere. Right. I mean, as it is, we got too many satellites up there. Everything is ruining everything. Right. Well, it's like the days of the industry. Again, the green plan was too green, and I gave them green. They even said it's the green plan. we were lying. Got a lot of green off it. Right. But what it did is, if you restrict something past a certain point, cost benefit says it's not necessary, and now there's trouble in the economy or something else. So, but yeah, there was a time before the EPA got busy that it was bad. Right. The pollution was horrible. Right. So again, the idea is that there is a cost benefit in all of that. I kind of lost my train of thought there. Green plan. Yeah, they're blocking it. Whatever I was just talking about, that whole pattern of thought works in, that we have to manage it a certain way. What was I talking about? You know what? I'm going to end it here, and then I'll come back online later, because in other words, there's irresponsible. So again, the space program, that's it. It's irresponsible right now. There's too much irresponsibility for the future. Right? We don't want to go totally green with it, but we need to realize that it's over what we would normally allow. There's irresponsibility in the space program. Well, we'll end it with that.